I'm going to show you how to do a simple grade in DaVinci Resolve, and it's not going to be that confusing, and we're not going to use a whole lot of nodes, but we're going to give you an introduction into how the color page in DaVinci Resolve works. So let's jump into the color page. This is a perfect example because this video interview, we were supposed to interview this guy at a restaurant. We had the lights set up. We had a beautiful shot, great composition. And one of his buses broke down in the middle of the highway. It was kind enough to say to us, come up to the bus station. Beggars can't be choosers. We wanted the story. He gave us a great story, but it doesn't look that great. And we're gonna fix it. We're gonna take that video from that to that. This isn't a one-size-fits-all application. Sometimes you want a different look. This is just for the sake of correcting this image. We open up our vector scope, and if you see how this should be centered, pushing more towards the yellow and red, what I'm gonna do is just grab the offset and try to center that. Okay, so that's where we are now, that's where we were. So you can see the yellow has left this picture quite a bit, which is good, that's what we want. The next thing I'm gonna do is go into the waveform. Most of our information is in the shadows, a little bit in the midtones. So what I wanna do is come over here to my gamma, that's your midtones. I'm gonna raise the gamma up. And there we go, we brighten up the picture a little bit. And I'm gonna raise the gain, that's the highlights. Okay, we're better. And then I'm gonna pull the shadows back down again. Raise the gain back up again. Raise the gamma back up again. This is what I call the tug of war. So when you start and everything's down here in the shadows, and you ideally want to do is keep that here and raise things up a little bit like a sandwich. When you raise the gamma, it pulls the shadows up with it. So as you raise the gamma, then you have to pull down shadows. When you raise the gain, you have to lift the gamma. You follow me. I'm going to add some mid detail to this, add a little bit of contrast, raise the mid-tone. So the mid-tone is typically your skin tones. Gain, your highlights would be any of the bright parts of the picture. Your lift would be the shadows. So I'm gonna do, all right, I'm happy with where the shadows are. Now because this was shot in ProRes, I have a little bit more room to work with here. So what I wanna do is move the gamma. I'm gonna try to get some color back in him. What I'm gonna do is take the gamma and push that more towards like the orange. And if you look at the vector scope, that line that comes in around 11 o'clock, indicates your skin tones. So we've now taken this picture from this to this. In this case, since I'm pretty happy with fixing the exposure and getting rid of that yellow cast on here, I am going to move towards a lookup table that's designed for the camera that I shot with. So I'm only going to add one more node. I'm going to hit Option S. That's going to add a serial node. There are other colorists out there who at this point might have 7 nodes. That first node might be for exposure. The second node could be for color. The third node could be for, contrast. There's nothing wrong with adding more nodes. The advantage of it is that if you don't like the exposure, you can go into that node and fix the exposure. Whereas if you do everything in one node, yes, you can go in and fix your exposure, but if you've made color adjustments, that's going to have an effect on that as well. What I typically do is my first node is going to be my balance node. So I balance the exposure, I balance the color. Are we done? No, but that's where the second node is going to come into play. So if I go into my LUTs, I'll go into Blackmagic Design. So just by hovering over these, I can see what the different lookup tables are going to do. Now, these are ones that are built into Resolve because Blackmagic owns Resolve, and since I happen to have shot on the Blackmagic camera, this is what I want to use. So I tend to like the Blackmagic film looks. I'm going to throw this LUT onto this node. All right, so I double-click it. Now that LUT's on there. I'll add one more node to correct the LUT that I put on there because it still seems a little yellow. I want to take some of that yellow away. I can do this a couple different ways. I'm looking at the vector scope and I can see the yellow in there. So if I go to the gain and pull away from yellow, you'll see what it's doing. I like that look right there. Right there, that's good. So let me put it back to where it was. That's where it was And it's really affecting everything because that's our highlights. So on the locker, on his face, as I pull away from that, you can see how this would be the extreme. That's a little too blue for me. That's great. I'm really happy with that. So here we go from this to this. But let's start from the beginning and see what we did. So here's our source file. This is correcting the offset for color and correcting the waveform to get a nice contrast. We've added some mid detail and a little contrast to this node. Our second node was our LUT, and then our third node was to color correct the LUT. And that's it. That's really all there is to it. With any of these nodes, you can change the intensity. So with this node, this is the LUT. If I come down here to where it says key and key output gain, so 1 is your, the full amount. If I slide that down, you see I'm taking the LUT out. So that's it. There's a whole lot more that this color page does. If I went into my curves, this is another way that I could raise and lower my exposure. I can go into any particular color. You have, hue versus saturation. So if I wanted to tone that yellow down, I could also have done something like this. So see if I raise that up, that's the extreme. If I bring it down, it's kind of a nice, makes the place look a little cleaner. And once again, you would add another node as you are doing all of these. I'm gonna show you one more thing on here. I'm gonna add another node. And there's a really cool feature on here called Magic Mask. So if I select that, and the eyedropper comes up. So basically what I want to do is I want this to affect him, let's say. So I'm going to do that. Give it a second to read. So when I click on the mask overlay, it'll show me in red what it got. If I want to add more, the plus dropper would add more. If I wanted to take something away, this minus eyedropper would, so if it picked up part of the wall, we could minus the wall from it. So now that I've done that, any adjustment that I do in here is only going to affect him. So see, I'm making him brighter. I can bring this back down. This is another reason why you work in nodes, because I can reset anything if I've taken it to the extreme without affecting the other work that I've done. So let's see what happens if I try to add some, a little bit of color to him. Now this would be extreme, if he ate too many blueberries. But, ideally, if I wanted to change his skin tone, I would only select his face. But if I wanted to bring him out from the background a little bit, I could do that. So I'm going to leave that alone because I'm happy with this. The Magic Mask can do a whole lot more. You can change the color of something. You can remove the background. You can isolate your subject if you didn't shoot in green screen. It's really simple. It's a lot easier than you think. Get in there and do it. Hands-on is the best way to learn it. And what's most important is keep your scopes open. Your scopes don't lie. Your monitor has different color set to it. Professional colorists have a professional monitor that's balanced a certain way, and you can only trust your eyes so much. It's important to, use your eyes to see if you like the look, but your scopes are going to tell you if something is too bright, too dark, where the color cast is, what you're taking. It's really helpful to have those scopes open, and it's a great way to learn. Dive into it, color grade some stuff, color correct some stuff, and thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody.